2 or 3 games in his career, does that make you the number 12 pick in the draft? Especially, like I've said, I'm going to beat this in the ground. Nick Fairley was still there. We're losing Pat Williams. Kevin Williams being suspended from Star Caps. That was a hole where it would have had more of an immediate effect because now you've got a rookie quarterback behind a suspect offensive line.
If you ask me, those two guys can be married together for their entire career because to me it's going to be Nick Fairley and Christian Ponder. Mm-hmm. We could have had one, we took the other.
And especially being in the same division, we're going to see Fairley twice a year. Yep. We're going to get a good idea if he can play or if he can't play. It's not like he went to Tampa Bay or went to Buffalo where we see the team once every 4 or 5 years. Twice a year in your division, folks, and he's going to be putting pressure on the guy you drafted, and our quarterback.
And who's he paired up with right next to?
Yeah, the best defensive lineman or interior defensive lineman. If not the best, he will be in 2 or 3 years. In Dominic Sue.
Yep.
Detroit doing things the right way.
They finally figured it out. I'm a little excited for them. I know they're in our division, but they've been so bad for so long. One thing too with the Ponder pick, it's. Do you think they reached too far? Is it something that we can get excited about now? I always said before too, I'm not sure if the Vikings are set up right now that quarterback, and this may sound stupid, but is quarterback the most important position on this team? How many more games are they gonna win or lose because of the quarterback play? Right. Because they're still a solid team on paper.
Right. I don't care if Christian Ponder turns out to be Tom Brady. Now, will I like him being a Vikings quarterback? Absolutely. Yeah. You get the best player, best quarterback in the NFL, it'd be great. But at 12, I don't care if he's Tom Brady because you could have got him at 14, you could have got him at 15, maybe even in the 20s. I don't believe the Redskins team because if they wanted a quarterback,
they had Gabbert.
They had Gabbert right there, and I have to believe that. I understand that every team has their own spin on things, and they all want to be smarter than the next guy. And Minnesota pulls Christian Ponder and says, "Oh, we had him number 1 on our board the entire time. Great, fine." I do think they liked Locker, and I think that he was their guy. I think that when he went, they panicked. I honestly believe they panicked. So they didn't even look at Fairley, look at Nakamura, where it would have filled better holes for now because. Like I said, we've talked about the David Carr syndrome. The guy comes in as a rookie, gets sacked 70-odd times, never recovers from that. So, and David Carr was a lot better prospect than Christian Ponder is coming into the NFL.
And I think Christian Ponder might be put in a better situation than David Carr was.
Right.
He might have more confidence going in. He might have more to believe in.
Pieces around him are a little better, yeah.
But I'm not sure the outcome's going to be the same. Because I think you're right. David Carr was a better quarterback at this juncture, right now, going into the league, than Christian Ponder is.
But Bill Musgrave, new offensive coordinator, did build Matt Ryan up. I mean, although Matt Ryan was the 3rd pick in the draft, there was a lot of question marks about that guy. Was he too slow? He had the arm, he had the brains, but he was too slow. Were his mechanics going to transfer to the NFL? So Musgrave did a great job getting him and that Falcons offense going. Now you're putting the future of your franchise in first-year offensive coordinator and a rookie quarterback. So
I think the Falcons are a prime example of how of what I'm trying to say about Ponder or the Vikings quarterback situation is I'm not sure Matt Ryan, when you mention top quarterbacks in the league, I'm not sure if he's in the conversation. Same with Joe Flacco. Mm-hmm. Are they slinging are they going for all the yards and all the touchdowns, all the gaudy numbers? I don't think they are.
Right.
They can win a game going for 160 yards. 1 or 2 touchdowns, they just don't make the mistakes.
And we'll take that.
They're mentally tough.
We'll take that because other than Brett Favre, and of course he made some mistakes last year, other than his 1 year where it was the greatest quarterback season in the history of the NFL, we've put up with the T-Jack just letting her buck. We've put up with Dante, and even Randall Cunningham in the great year of 1998. It was just drop back, let her buck, and hopefully Randy Moss made every play for you.
And he did for the most part.
And he did, and it worked out. But Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. I'm going to go on a limb here and say Christian Ponder probably a little more talented than Trent Dilfer.
Probably.
And our defense obviously nowhere near the Ravens. I'm not making any kind of comparison there. But 3-4 years down the road, okay, you get something out of Ponder. You got to be a little better than Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little better than Brad Johnson kind of quarterback. But if you don't make the mistakes, keep it down to 10 interceptions a year, and we'll probably be okay.
We might be. I mean, if you go for 25 and 10, 25 touchdowns over 16, or we're going to go to 18 games?
Right.
Isn't that large of a number?
And you still have Adrian Peterson on the roster.
And let's not forget the mental aspect of being an NFL player, being a quarterback. I think Ponder's Ponder's ability is more mental than maybe it is physical. Right now, anyway, because from all I've heard, he's a smart guy.
Right.
He understands a lot of stuff.
Scored over 50 on the Wonderlic test,
Right.
which is always they say it's always an indication if you're going to be talented or
Does
not.
that mean something? Well, it means something to me.
Right, because you've got a new playbook, you have a lockout, so you're not with your coaches every day. You've got to be able to absorb that playbook. And the only other quarterbacks on the roster are Joe Webb and Rhett Bomar. They have not been around long enough to really get into the playbook themselves. You have to have a lot of information digested on your own, and having the ability, the over 50 score on the Wonderlic test, kind of tends you or leads you to believe that he's got the internal makeup to at least learn the offense and mentally be pretty strong from the outset.
So in the long run, maybe there's a few things we can get excited about with Christian Ponder and that selection.
But
however,
still not the player you or I are looking to draft at number 12.
not the player, not at the spot.
Right. Lots of holes, like we mentioned before, at the Vikings. Hopefully we've filled one now for the next 5 to 10 years. But a little question mark here on if it was the place.
And you
to
mentioned
pick
that
guy.
when we pick a quarterback for the 5 to 10 years, it really should be 10 to 15 years.
Right.
And we're saying 5 to 10, crossing our fingers.
And that's probably a little gun shy on our part because being a Vikings fan, we change quarterbacks and I change socks in the morning. You know, you never Jim McMahon, Brett Favre. We've dusted them off. We've rolled them out there.
Yep.
And now we finally got our rookie. I guess the jury's going to be out
Maybe
on that.
it'll work. Yep.
Right. Other Vikings news, the stadium going into Arden Hills, at least it appears that way. We're down to the last 4 days of the legislative session. Everyone's up in arms. The government only will spend $300 million. The roads apparently are going to cost anywhere from $10 to $500 million. Every day it seems like that number changes. But finally we have an area, it looks like if the stadium is built there, where we can have our Vikings Nation, be a little like Lambeau, get the tailgating going on, a little more hometown feel, a little more ownership in the Vikings.
Yep.
Instead of going into a bar downtown before pregame. You can be out in the elements, you can get a little excited about your team,
And
have some fun.
I think that's a little more fun. Of course, you can't ignore the infrastructure and the politics and the taxes and things like that. That's all important to everybody. But how long did we use the Metrodome for how many different sports and how many different teams and how many
Right.
different events when we were saving all this money, other places and other teams are building new stadiums? Well,
Right.
now's our
Well, the
turn.
Twins got theirs.
They got
the
theirs.
Gophers got theirs.
Yep.
Maybe it's time we get the Vikings. And I think the politicians realized, with Ramsey County stepping up to the plate, they realized that we were down to now or never. You got to keep the Vikings here. You can't let them leave. Obviously, being sports fans, we're going to sit here all day and pound on the desk and say, keep them, keep them, keep them. But if it makes sense, and obviously Ramsey County's not going to lose their shirt. If you're coming to the table with the proposal they did, there's obviously something in it for you. Developing a eyesore of land up there, right off the interstate, you're going to be able to see the stadium, everything that goes up around it, going to be in great location. You need a few new roads up there. But you're going to revitalize an area of the North Metro that without this stadium, what's ever going to go in there? Probably nothing.
And what are the spin-offs from the stadium? What are the results from it? Jobs. We got jobs. We got stuff that can go up around it. We can make it a big event, a big attraction. Other teams, other stadiums have every Sunday is a big event. It's a big deal. It's got the barbecuing. It's got the tailgating. It's got the drinking. Now, not every place is as cold as this either. And I know, for one, I've been spoiled by sitting in the Metrodome. I do like sitting in the Metrodome in December when it's cold out, and I can still enjoy a football game with a sweatshirt on.
Right.
Maybe that rule changes. Are we going to have to put a roof on this thing? Who knows?
Well, right now the proposal is with the roof, and I think it has to be. It's going to be hard enough to get this stadium passed the way it is. If you don't make it useful for the Super Bowl, for the NCAA Final Four, tractor pulls, concerts, whatever,
And I
pick
think
your poison. You need to have it available for more than 10 days a year, or you're throwing $1 billion, that's $1 billion, folks, with a B, down the drain. You have to make it useful for more than 10
And
days.
it makes perfect sense to make it multifaceted in order to attract concerts and things that can generate revenue, not only for the area, but for the stadium, for the state. And get some national events here. The Final Four you mentioned, Super Bowls, things like that.
Well, and plus I think, too, you're going to draw a lot of out-of-town fans. Now, hopefully the stadium's packed with Vikings fans for Vikings games. But you give them a reason to come and be able to tailgate and celebrate. They can come in on Friday. They can kind of enjoy the experience around it. Where now, who wants to come and seriously go to a game at the Metrodome when the atmosphere, other than for Vikings fans, is great and rowdy? But we're not offering anything to the out-of-towner coming in.
Right.
Maybe the stadium out by itself, a little Vikings village, if you will give them a reason to come in, spend a little bit of their hard-earned money.
Is it too far-fetched to maybe just show up at the game, not have tickets, and hang out in the parking lot with a bunch of rowdy Viking fans and hang out, listen to the game with a bunch of friends?
Yeah, play a game of football. Things that we haven't seen happen around here. Well, when I was 11 years old in the Metrodome Open, I wasn't going to games. So in my lifetime, basically, something that I've never seen. So
Something to get excited about for Vikings fans.
it is. Hopefully, legislature, you do the right thing. You get this thing passed. I don't care if we have to open up gambling and put a casino in every corner. It really doesn't matter to me. Just make it work, get it done, and hopefully within 3 years we're going to be sitting in a new stadium. And maybe we can even do a live sports underground from there.
That'd be
if
fun.
If we can keep this going for a while. We're only number 2, so maybe we're a little bit ahead of ourselves right there. So that's enough Vikings talk for right now. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the Twins, talk about the Wolves, and talk about the Wild. Right here, Sports Underground Volume 2.